Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Geek Blend. I'm Jeff, and another episode of the Orville Quantum Dive, where we watch the Orville, and we are on season 2, and we're on episode 2, entitled Primal Urges. I'm once again joined by Lost Jedi 22, Greg himself. Greg, thanks for joining me again for the Orville Quantum Dive. Now, after the episode was over, what were your first initial thoughts on it?
Oh boy, this episode. This is a tale of two episodes for me. The first half started off way too slow and had way too many cringe moments, but then once it started getting into the action and when they're dealing with trying to rescue the people on the planet and then interjecting some of the cuts, scenes with the humor, I really enjoyed the episode. I was chuckling and having a good time. It just took way too long to get there, unfortunately. So overall, I'd say it's kind of a mediocre episode. If they would have found a way to pick up the pace in the beginning and not do so many of the cringe scenes with the Bortus, it would have been great.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree on that. Exactly, almost. Yeah, the beginning was slower, and there were a lot of cringe moments for me. But yeah, once it picked up and we kind of got into more of what we were the bigger arc of the show, what was going on for this episode, I think it was better and better, and a lot of the humor did land. I noticed that during the episode, we both laughed at a lot of stuff. Normally, it's very hit or miss, but this was one of the more funnier ones I think we've seen in a while that actually I found funny.
Absolutely. At the very beginning of the episode, it was a lot of ew and kind of cringe. And then near the tail, I was having a fun time with the episode at the very end of it. I thought it was really fun once they started getting... Basically, once they got the virus thing plot line kicked in, the episode really took off for me. Just, again, took too long to get there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was just a little bit slow at the beginning. Basically, this episode revolves around there's a planet that they're basically watching be swallowed by its own star. And, they don't mention any life forms on the planet because when they first go there's nobody, they don't think there's any life forms at all. So they're just watching it happen. And basically in awe of how the star is just tearing the planet apart. Like first you see it absorb the atmosphere and stuff. And there's a lot of actually really cool shots, especially outer shots with the Orville flying around the star itself. I think we both discussed that many times in the episode of how many really great shots they had outside the ship. Because I know the last couple episodes, at least for me, there's been some very iffy effects, but this one kind of cranked it up a notch. You can tell they put a little bit more money in this episode. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Whoever was responsible for developing the concept and executing the visual effects for the star and how the planet was interacting with the star did a fantastic job. Some really great shots. Even later in the episode with the shuttle as it's landing on the planet and they kind of both look up and there's the star. There were some really cool looking visual effects there. Probably some of the best I've seen. There were a couple moments where I was like, ooh, the green screen was a little bit noticeable there, but overall, the visual effects in this episode stood out.
Yeah, it did. It was a very good looking episode. Basically, Vault revolves around Bortus and Clyden, his mate. Find out that Bortus is basically going into the simulator for porn role plays. And we see quite a bit, and we see way too much more than we should have. Let's put it that way, because there was a few where like, oh, really? What's this? Oh, okay, this is this fantasy, yeah. And then he's lying to his mate, saying he's working late. And then we get to see more of the Moclan culture, because when the mate wants to divorce his partner, he stabs him in the chest to kill him. He kills him, basically. That's how they do divorce. That was a little bit shocking. And the way the crew handled it was very interesting as well. But I mean, basically it was a murder. But I mean, then they find out that's how it works. That it was like, okay. And they saved his life and he was mad about it. But it was very weird.
Yeah, because he was mad about it because he felt guilty about it as well. Like he felt like maybe he kind of deserved it because he recognized that he wasn't being a good mate. Clytus, he's not a very likable character to me. He's very kind of needy and whiny. Like he's got valid points, but he just comes off as somebody like, dude, I would be hitting the bar or hitting the holosuite too, because you kind of are annoying to me. I do like the callback that their marital issues kind of stem from the episode in the first season where the gender issue with their child, and there was carryover from that. In general, I hope the show's kind of steers way the hell away from more of these Bortus Clytus episodes, because in general, I'm not liking that dynamic. All the fun and all the comedy really came from the fact that he was using the simulator as basically a I guess an adult bookstore, maybe, I guess, or adult theater, maybe. He was pulling a Pee Wee Herman, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
They showed, I think, 3 or 4 different instances where he was sneaking off to go there, and like I think you could have gotten the message across with maybe 1 or 2, and then that wasn't doing it for him. So then he had to go and like go on the black market and kind of find a dude on the ship that looked really kind of weird, to get him like a back channel kind of illegal simulator program that was a little bit more racy. The result of that and I like this part of it, is that it came with a virus, like it was a little modern day, but it worked for me, because it was like, oh yeah, there's some sites on the internet that if you go to them, you're probably going to have some problems with your browser. It kind of worked that way. And then this virus kind of was spreading on the ship and creating system issues all throughout the ship. So that was one of the plot drivers. So it was a way to kind of merge those A and B plots together. And I thought the comedy there was very funny. And then the fact that the engineers trying to fix, get rid of the virus in the simulator while the gangbang simulation is running, and like these hollow characters are trying to seduce the engine. It was just funny. I thought that stuff was really great. Again, unfortunately, they would have cut out maybe 2 of his fantasy visits, like cut out the castle one where he's in prison, cut out the doctor one, and go from his first one right to the gangbang one. Probably would have been less cringe and more funny.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just cut to him basically going through the door and looking around, and that's all they had to do, to be honest.
Yeah, they didn't have to go into too much detail with the fantasy. I mean, fantasies has been done in Star Trek before with the holodeck, but they never really showed anything. It's just kind of implied, which is probably the better way to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with the whole virus aspect is where a lot of the comedy came from. I also thought the scene in the shuttle where Bortus and Isaac were traveling to the planet, and Isaac's trying to find out like about sex, and like basically wants to know what it feels like, and he even calls Bortus primitive, and of course Bortus takes offense to that because Isaac thinks basically he's beyond anybody else. But I thought it was just a really funny scene how they did it, and how Isaac just casually brings it up like, yeah, I want to know about sex, tell me about how it feels, tell me this and this. I thought it was a really funny scene.
Oh, definitely, that was good stuff. Well written dialogue there.
Yeah, and then they have to send down Bortus and Isaac to the planet because they find out there is actually a civilization underground that had been there for about 100 years because they discovered that the star was going to engulf the planet. So they get a hold of this civilization, and there's only 75 of them. So they figure out a way to use the shuttle, but they have to send Isaac and Bortus because they're the ones that can absorb the radiation and have no medical issues or not die. When they were talking about that, though, when Malloy was like, "Is it like going to be a sunburn, or are we talking like opening the Ark of the Covenant, like kind of burns?" I was like, I even think you said an Indiana Jones reference, really? And I was like, yeah, it's for this time period being set. Don't you think they would have had a more current, But that's of course here nor there, because that's what makes, I guess they want to just put those pop culture references in the show.
Compared to when this show first started, they have done far less of it. So I think when they do it, it works a little bit better. I didn't mind it so much. I was just like, oh, hey, that was a call out to.
I think it's funny in the end that they all almost die because of his porn simulation and his black market porn that brought the virus into the ship. He almost kills everyone just because of his porn addiction.
Yeah, because it disabled the navigation systems on the ship, and they were almost swallowed up with the star while they went to try and do this rescue mission. The
ship is getting basically torn apart because they lose their deflector shields pretty quickly, and as they're getting closer to the star, you see the ship kind of come apart. The action, the drama was really well done, and some more fantastic special effects as the planet is engulfed by the star and breaks apart. This probably was my number one or number two for special effects in the entire series so far. It was just well done. But yeah, I'm with you. It was, if this would have got there a little quicker, it would have been a much higher rated episode for me. This is definitely middle of the road for me, but it did leave me feeling good and like looking forward to the next episode because it ended on it was just a really good ending, in my opinion, for the episode. I really wanted to love this episode, but some of the stuff in the beginning, it just didn't work for me. There was too much of that, too much cringe, and it was a little bit too slow getting where it needed to get to, and unfortunately it took too much time.
But hopefully we got the Bortus Clytus episode of the season out of the way, and we won't have any more of those. So, and if we don't, that'll be great. So, looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, me too. I am too. And I'm glad you guys could join us for another episode of the Orville Quantum Dive. Greg, thanks again for joining me. I appreciate you being here, man. I love doing these.
Yeah, I'm having a good time. Like I said, the episode ended on a good note. So, I'm feeling pretty good about going into the next episode.
Me too. And thank you all for watching. And leave a like on the video. It really does help us out. And if you guys are new to the channel and you do want to see some more content, hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell for notifications so you can stay updated on everything we do here on the channel, including these Orville Quantum Dive episodes. And you will find in the description below links to our Patreon, our Discord, and our social media. So if you guys want to check those out, go ahead. But we will see you guys next week. I'm Jeff for the Geek Blend. And remember, if you geek about it, we speak about it. We'll see you guys next week.